Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back. So my name is Makita Hamilton. I'm a student of God and I welcome you in joining me in this Bible study. So today we are getting into Genesis chapter 11, We're getting into Genesis chapter 11. If you haven't seen chapter 10, part 1 and part 2, go ahead and refer back to them. There's some juicy little tidbits in there. So today we're going to be continuing on with defining the name meanings, what the names actually mean in its Hebrew context from this Hallelujah Scripture Name Meanings book. A really valuable tool. This is my first time really getting into it, and I had this on my shelf for about a year now. So yeah. And just as a FYI, guys, utilize your resources. You don't have to go out and buy new things all the time. Utilize what you have. I'm currently sitting here recording this video. I got my little ring light tripod thing on the box. Okay, that's what I had. That's what I had handy this morning, so that's what it is. Let me actually go ahead and turn on this light. Bam, there we go. Bam, y'all see me. So, yes, Genesis chapter 11. So I'm using my King James version. I'm really keen on using the King James version. And I have used one other version in the past, the NIV version. But I've since transitioned to the King James version. So chapter 11. And it reads, if you haven't already read this chapter, I would strongly suggest that you read it because there's some juicy little tidbits in there, especially towards the end at this verse, at chapter 11, verse 29. Okay, we see some things going on in Abraham's family, his lineage. We see some things about to pop off. So I'll start at verse 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. So Shinar means, according to this name meanings book, Shinar means of two rivers. And if you see me continually look off screen, I got my notes on my laptop. Shout out Anaya Ware, Miss Anaya Ware. Check out her channel. It's called Sun, S-O-N, the Soul of Nai. She be bringing many words and prophecies on there. So, and she also uses notes. That's why I said shout her out too initially. So Shinar, it means of two rivers, and this meaning is of foreign origin or uncertain origin. And as I stated previously before, in this book, one of the things that I really like about it is that it's really just authentic in its research, right? And in its knowledge. Like if there's a word that's defined in here that's, let's say, of Greek origin or, something like that, then it'll denote it with like the special symbol. And so the symbol that was near Shinar, which means of two rivers, had a certain symbol which denotes that it was of uncertain or foreign origin. Foreign as in not Hebrew. So Shinar, I went ahead and looked in my Strong's Concordance and Vine Dictionary. It's combined in one book, and I may go ahead and leave that down in the description box below, where you guys can get a copy if you like. Shinar is a nation in Babylonian. This is what the Concordance and Dictionary said. So we see Shinar spoken about at Genesis chapter 10, verse 10, and it reads, "In the beginning of his kingdom, this is talking about Nimrod, the beginning of Nimrod's kingdom. So maybe I could back it up a little bit. Okay, so I'll back it up to verse 8 of Genesis 10. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. Right, a mighty one meaning, you know, famous, celebrity type of thing. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, excuse me, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So this is the beginning of his kingdom in this land of Shinar, which encompasses Babel and Erech and so on and so forth. So another verse that it is spoken about, of course, is at where we started this morning at Genesis chapter 11, verse 2. And I'll just go ahead and reiterate it, reread it. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And this is talking about the families of the sons of Noah, right? You can go ahead and read about that. Read that verse at Genesis chapter 10, verse 32. Like the families of the sons of Noah. That's where they journeyed from the east and found a plain in the land of Shinar. Excuse me. I'm like, let me slow it down a little bit. Okay, so the land of Shinar is also spoken about at Genesis chapter 14, verse 1 and verse 9, where it talks about how the king of Shinar linked up with other kings and made war with the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah and a few others. We can also see the land of Shinar, we can also see the land of Shinar spoken about at Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. Go there. Okay, I'm getting better, y'all, with knowing the placement of the books of the Bible instead of having to go to the index all the time. So I'll go ahead and read Isaiah 11:11. And it shall come to pass in that day. He's talking about Jesse. Let me back it up a little bit. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people, and it shall, for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And of course, during this chapter Bible study, like what we're doing now, we'll definitely get into the prophecies that are in Isaiah. So it's the land of Shinar is also spoken about in Daniel. And what I did to find other examples of the land of Shinar, I just I used my resources. I used the concordance, which gives you a list of where certain words are placed in the Bible. And each concordance, it how do I say, it refers to those words that are in okay, so let me back it up. I have a King James Version Bible, so I use a King James Version concordance. I don't use the NIV concordance because for specific reasons, but one of the obvious signs is that every word may not be the same in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are differences between the versions. It will definitely do a deep discussion on my other channel. I'm creating it. So originally, just as a little side note, these Bible studies were on a channel called the Locksmith Project, right? And I've since, well, at the time that I'm shooting this, I'm transferring them to this Bible Terms channel, right? So Bible Terms on YouTube, Bible Terms on Instagram, on Pinterest, it'll be Bible Terms, and so on and so forth. And when we get to the point of developing a website, then there'll be a home for the Bible studies, right? But on this channel called the Locksmith Project, that's where I'm going to do a deep dive of this great resource that really breaks down the differences between the versions of the Bible. And I'll leave it at that because I don't want this, I want to stay on topic. So going back to the land of Shinar, right? We see it a couple of times in Genesis. We see it at Genesis chapter 14, where it talks about the king of Shinar linking up with other kings to make war against the king of Sodom and the king of Gomorrah. And now we looked at Isaiah. And now we're going to check out Daniel. We're going to check out Daniel and see what is spoken about there regarding the land of Shinar. Daniel chapter 1, verse 2, it reads, "And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand." Okay, let me back it up to verse 1 and 1. "In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it." Right, he broke it down and he pillaged it, took control of it. "And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, into the king of Babylon's hand." Right, he gave Jehoiakim into Nebuchadnezzar's hands. "With part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God." So we see here a few things, right? For whatever reason, the Lord gave the king of Judah into the hands of the king of Babylon, who then, right, Nebuchadnezzar, who then carried away things that were in it says vessels of the house of God. He carried those vessels of the house of God and brought them to okay, so the land of Shinar. The land of Shinar is also spoken about in Zechariah at chapter 5, verse 11, and Zechariah is also a book of prophecy. So we're going to jump back to Genesis chapter 11 and continue on. Let me do a brief recap, right? So, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. So this is very dangerous because of the events that took place in Genesis chapter 6, right? Where we see the wickedness and the perverseness was only accomplished. We see that the wickedness and the perverseness was only accomplished through their shared ability to communicate with the angels, with the sons of God who left their first habitation. And that verse is at Jude chapter 1, verse 6. And there's only one chapter in Jude, if I'm not mistaken. So the sons of God, right, went in unto the daughters of men and created a perverse being. It was something that wasn't natural, and something that was never supposed to happen, right? Then we see giants in the land, and these men of renown, which we will get into at a later date. So through their ability to communicate, they all being of one language, they begin to devise this plan to do evil, right? So, and it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there, right? So originally, God commanded man to spread out, and subdue the earth, which we could read this at Genesis chapter 2, right? So through their language, they not only began to defy God, once again after the flood, but they also were not obedient in doing what God commanded them to, which was to spread out. They all grouped together, right? So continuing on at Genesis chapter 11, verse 3, and they said one to another, go to, which means, come on, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they made brick for stone, and slime, which is like asphalt. In this context, slime, which is asphalt, had they for mortar, right? So we see here, of course, they're communicating here, and they're saying to one another, let's make this form, right? This building, this architecture, which we see right here. So a brick is made mostly out of clay. It goes through its process and then put in a mold, dried and baked and burned in a kiln, which is an oven. And I really wanted to define, and dive a little deeper into, like what are they actually doing, right? Just even from the base material, right? It's so interesting because this is it's technology. Of course, now, being that, at this time of this recording is 2022, we got cryptocurrency, self-driving cars and stuff like that now. But back then, that's some real technology. Okay. One of the questions that I had was, who gave them this technology? How did they come to have it, just as a general curiosity. And it's also interesting. So they used, this brick and slime, which is asphalt, to begin making this tower, right? Which we'll see is the Tower of Babel. But it's also interesting in Exodus at chapter 2, verse 3, Moses' mother, right, put him in this ark and used slime and pitch to reinforce it. So as we know, or will come to know, that she did this because Pharaoh placed an order that all Hebrew male children needed to die. Basically, he said, kill them all and throw them in the river. So that's what was going down at that time. That's what was going down at that time. Excuse me. So continuing on to verse 4, and they said, go to. Okay, I'm gonna start at verse 3. And they said one to another, go to, which means come on, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they made brick for stone, and slime, which is asphalt, for mortar. And they said, go to, come on, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And so them saying, go to, let us build a tower, right, unto heaven. This verse is one that I definitely need to dive deeper into, because it's so pivotal, right? Not only are they defying God, right, but what are they actually trying to accomplish by building this city with this tower to reach unto heaven? What are they trying to do? Are they trying to peek into heaven? What are they trying to do, right? And we'll see in these next couple of videos, right? I'm going to be utilizing some outside sources, and I'm gonna do like a reactions type style video to these sources. I already have in mind 2 videos that I want to review with you guys. Really powerful teacher, and he always brings like the word unadulterated. So I think today that's where we're gonna leave off at. I hope you guys enjoy it so far, and please continue to join to join us. I'm stuttering. Please continue to join us. So yeah, y'all. Peace and blessings. Have a good day. Until next time.